status report, or what are you doing?
Yeah, you want it's item one.
Oh, okay, cool. You're out quick then. No, it's just a status report on grants. Should go 2 minutes.
Audio test, testing 1, 2, 3. 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 Good morning, everyone. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer with the Board of Public Works for today, Friday, June 9th, 2023. We should get started in the next minute. Just wanted to confirm if you can hear us online through the through the Zoom application. Mr. Bagby, I'm going to just select you if you can unmute your microphone and just confirm that you can hear us on the Zoom application.
Your audio is excellent.
Great, thank you, and welcome and good morning to you. Quick list of presenters for today. Item number 1, David Kopp. Item 2, Margaret Robinson. Item 3, Jorge Garcia. Item 4, multiple presenters, Ms. Prophet, Scott Gibson, Arsen Baskirchian, George Wang, Shirley Lau, and myself for item number 4. We do have a special agenda that will start after the regular agenda, and that is going to be presented by George Wang and Winnie Lam. For members of the general public that would like to provide general public comment on for today's agenda or commentary on any of the items for today's agenda, if you can please raise your hand at this time by pressing *9 if you're joining us through a smartphone device or a mobile device or landline device. If you're joining us through the Zoom application, there is a raise hand icon located at the lower right-hand side of your screen. You can go ahead and click that icon at this time. If you're joining us here live in person at City Hall, 3rd floor in our chambers, there are speaker cards located at the back end of the room. You can go ahead and fill that out and submit that to myself as soon as possible. Again, this is for members of the general public that would like to provide general public comment or commentary on any of the items for today's agenda. If you can please raise your hand or submit your speaker card. At this time, we have one person that has raised their hand. Dr. Tom Williams, good morning to you. Can you please let us know which item you'd like to speak on?
Yes, Dr. Tom Williams. I want to speak on general public comment and item number 3.
Item 3, perfect. Thank you so much, Dr. Williams, and good morning to you, and thank you for joining us this morning. We should get started in the next 30 seconds. See no other hands raised for general public comment or commentary on any of the items for today's agenda. Vice President Villegas, good morning to you. We do have President Garcia on an approved business absence this morning, and I can go ahead and get started with the audio recording for you this morning. Absolutely, and Vice President Villegas, good morning to you. Can we just test your audio equipment for us one more time? Just
turn it on.
Making sure that we are loud and clear.
Amateur hour. Sorry. There, is that better?
Audio test, perfect.
Okay, cool.
Great. You are now in record mode.
Are we on record mode?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Vice President Villegas, I can go ahead and start and establish quorum if you'd like at this time.
Yes, please.
Good morning again, Fernando Campos, again for the Board of Public Works for today's Friday, June 9th, 2023, establishing roll call and quorum. This morning we have Vice President Villegas, our chair. We have President Pro Tem Davis and Commissioners Corzan and Commissioner Reyes. Vice President Villegas, you do have a quorum this morning. As I mentioned earlier, President Garcia is out under absence, approved absence for business purposes this morning. Madam Chair, we do have one caller on the line under general public comment. We have no commentary under the Neighborhood Council comment section, and we also have one member on the line that would like to speak on item number 3. Again, one person for general public comment and one person for item number 3.
All right. Why don't we take general public comment right now then?
Absolutely. Dr. Tom Williams, the Board of Public Works is now considering general public comment. You'll have 2 minutes to speak under this segment. Please go ahead and unmute your microphone.
Hello, Dr. Tom Williams, Citizens Coalition for a Safe Community, 35-year resident in El Sereno, LA City. I'm quite concerned regarding the City Council's assignment of a project to the Board of Public Works, Office of Petroleum Administration. Item number 7 on the agenda for June the 7th, 2003, issue number 111813S8. That is what to do about Rancho LPG facilities in San Pedro. Basically, there are two very large LPG bombs waiting to blow up. And the spill contingency, spill containment is not adequate for the current facilities because they have changed their drainage and their flaring system. So the Board of Public Works needs to have a competent and community-based review of this entire facility because it has been changed without permits, especially on the amount of runoff that comes from the Port of LA into the facility and thereby minimizes or reduces the amount of LPG that they can contain within their containment ponds. This is not a water contamination issue per se, other than there may be some drainage of petroleum products into the same basin, but there are two very large 12 million gallon tanks of LPG, liquefied petroleum gas,
2 minutes.
which means
Please
that
wrap up.
it's released. Yes, I will. When it released, it'll go boom, and a lot of people will be impacted. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Vice President Villegas, that does clear the queue for general public comment, and we can go ahead and close that segment if you'd like.
Wonderful, thank you. Let's close public comment then, general public comment, and move on then to our next item and approve the minutes for May 26, 2023. Do we have a second for my motion to approve the minutes of May 26, 2023? Second. Dr. Campos, we have a motion by myself and a second by Commissioner Reyes for the approval of the minutes. If you could please take roll.
Absolutely. Let's start the voting tabulation. We'll start with you, Madam Chair.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis,
Aye.
Commissioner Corzine,
Aye.
and Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
This motion is adopted and carries unanimous. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. We will get started with our agenda, beginning with item number 1. And this is a contract award for PCL Construction Incorporated Pumping Plant 669 Harris Place Rehabilitation Project, recommending that the board, number 1, declare PCL Construction Inc. First low bidder to be the lowest responsible bidder and award PCLA contract for the pumping plant at 669 Harris Place Rehabilitation Project for $5,411,000. And number 2, authorize the president or 2 members of the board to execute the contract after the approval as to the form has been obtained by the city attorney. And for presenting to us is Mr. David Cobb. Welcome.
Good morning. David Cobb, Bureau of Engineering, Environmental Engineering Division, here to provide an update on the project and Bureau of Engineering's recommendation to award the project to PCL Construction Incorporated. The project's located on the Terminal Island. It's within Council District 15. The scope of work includes the rehabilitation of the entire pumping facility, which includes its 3 pumps, ancillary equipment, control systems, automation, ventilation systems, as well as renovation of the building itself. 5 bids were submitted on March 15th of this year, with the lowest bid coming to PCL Construction in the amount of $5,411,000, which is below the city engineer's estimate, representing savings as we had projected in terms of budgeting the project. The contract duration is 548 calendar days, so this allows for the facility to be rebuilt while minimizing impacts to its continuous operation, especially during the wet season. While PCL is not a certified local business enterprise, their position as the lowest bidder remains unaltered in regards to the local business preference. Additionally, they do meet the Business Inclusion Program's guidelines with promising participation levels. They exceed in several categories and also exceed the mandatory subcontracting minimum of 25%. They are currently at 29.4%. The project also incorporates project labor agreement, which facilitates labor disputes and ensures timely economical project completion without any work stoppages. It also promotes local employment and apprenticeship training throughout the construction duration. The Clean Water Infrastructure Programs Program Review Committee approved the budget for the project on July 13th of last year. And based on these items, the Bureau of Engineering recommends awarding the contract to PCL for $5,411,000. The total funding for the project, as indicated in the board report, includes $270,550 for contingency. And that concludes my staff report, and I'm happy to address any questions your board may have.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cobb. Commissioners, do you have any questions? Oh, Dr. Davis?
Yes. I wanted to find out in terms of the timeline of the project, when do we anticipate the work to begin and end?
So assuming we can have notice to proceed sometime early in this summer, with the 548 calendar days, we should finish by the late fall of 2024. Okay. That is the plan. And while it's a relatively small pumping plant, it is a critical facility that is connected with the Terminal Island Water Reclamation Plant serving Council District 15. We need to make sure that we can phase the work in and replace pumps, for example, while keeping others operational, so that we don't put LA Sanitation's operators at risk over the course of construction. So we follow this methodology at the water reclamation plants as well.
How many pumps are we anticipating will be needed for this particular project?
We're replacing 3 existing pumps right now. So the way these facilities are designed is that if we have 2 that are always in operation, we always have 1 on standby. So in case we need to take down 1 for service, we have 1 running as well. So that, we call it a 2+1 methodology. It handles the 2 pumps will handle the peak flows, so during wet weather events, while having that standby capability in case 1 shuts down. The plant will provide automation that allows for switchover to that other pump in case 1 fails.
Thank you so much for that.
Thank you. And Commissioner Reyes?
Can you provide us more details about the apprenticeship program or training that is going to be provided, and how does that connect or integrate with our workforce development efforts in
Sure.
that area?
Sure. So good question. When we get notice to proceed, shortly thereafter, we arrange what's called a pre-construction meeting. And one of the items we cover in detail is the project labor agreement. So we have a representative of PLA from the city to explain the goals and requirements of those. While I don't have them specifically in front of me, I can happily follow those up with your board. But they do run through the minimum requirements for apprenticeship, and we set these goals early. We set the expectations early so that by the end of the job, the contractor's not scrambling to hire apprenticeship and be at risk of not meeting those goals. And so they regularly meet with PLA. There are regular meetings that are established, and all of those goals are set at the time of the pre-construction meeting with all parties. So that would be the contractor, Bureau of Engineering, Bureau of Contract Administration, and our client, LA Sanitation Environment.
So I would be interested in a more detailed briefing so that I can understand where everything is connecting, because of our emphasis on and priority on local hiring, and that apprenticeship training, I think, is a good pathway to do that.
Of course.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Reyes. Good suggestion. All right. Do we have any other questions? No? All right. Do we have a motion to approve this item? All right. Do we have a second?
I second.
All right. We have a motion by Dr. Davis and a second by Commissioner Reyes. Dr. Campos, if you could just take roll for us, please.
Absolutely. Let's start the roll call. We'll start with you, Madam Chair.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis,
Aye.
Commissioner Corzine,
Aye.
and Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
This motion is adopted and carries unanimous. Madam Chair, would you like to move this item forward forthwith?
Yes, please. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have
Thank
a
you.
good weekend. All right. Let's move on then to item number 2. And this is an AFV, and this is a miscellaneous vendors, Office of Wage Standards, Bureau of Contract Administration, and Office of Accounting are requesting the board approval and execution of an authority for expenditure in the amount of $513,886 a new adjusted amount from $597,586 to pay for various advertising media services for the Office of Wage Standards. And with us today is Margaret Robinson.
Yes. Good morning, Vice President Villegas, Commissioners, and Executive Staff. My name is Margaret Robinson, and I am with the Office of Wage Standards, Bureau of Contract Administration. On July 1st, 2023, the minimum wage rate will be increased to $16.78 for both small businesses with 25 or fewer employees and large businesses with 26 or more employees. Since July 1st, 2022, and thereafter, the minimum wage rate increases annually based on the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers for the Los Angeles metropolitan area, which is published by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. In addition to wage enforcement, the Office of Wage Standards has been designated to enforce the new Fair Workweek Ordinance, which came into effect on April 1st, 2023. Due to the wage increase and new Fair Workweek Ordinance, with the adjusted AE 237600001M, we are requesting your authorization to spend $513,886 on various advertisement and outreach mediums to continue strategic advertising efforts to target ethnic and diverse communities of employers and employees and large retail business owners to inform the public of the new Fair Workweek Ordinance, upcoming minimum wage rate increase, and fair chance topics. The advertisements provide the necessary notice to reach a large and broad audience in 12 various languages through newspapers, radio stations, digital outlets, exterior bus displays, interior bus cards, bus shelters, and bus benches, and will inform both employers and employees specifically in geographic areas with high concentrations of ethnic and immigrant populations. Advertisements to spread awareness of the Fair Workweek Ordinance will also be provided in 12 various languages and will inform both employees and employers with an emphasis on large retail businesses with 300+ employees that are impacted by the ordinance requirements. This concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for the report. Commissioners, do we have any questions on this item?
Yes.
Go ahead, Dr. Davis.
In terms of the outreach, we are giving this money to newspapers and groups to go do outreach personally, or could you describe the outreach strategy for the $513,000 that we are going to spend in this item?
So they'll be going to newspapers, the radio stations, digital outlets. We also have the exterior bus displays, and then when you go on inside the bus, they have the bus cards that are displayed at the top. So it's just going to these various outlets.
Did you, and I have a technical problem in terms of downloading the board paper. Did we list some of the examples of some of the papers that we're going to? Oh, okay. And I apologize for the
Oh, no, it's okay.
technical difficulty. I just wanted to make sure that some of the papers that we are going to outreach to are those local paper in the respective geographic areas of the city that you have mentioned in your overview of the motion. You mentioned the various ethnic and language speaking communities. I wanted to make sure that the papers that we have, and I see that they pretty much are, those papers that serve those communities as well. So thank you so very much
Okay,
for
you're welcome.
indulging me here. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Commissioner Corson?
Thank you. How do we measure how effective print outreach is?
I'm not sure off the top of my head. I will have to speak to it with my staff and tell you exactly, but from my understanding is that the various outlets, they actually give us estimated impressions based on their subscribers and people who purchase their, or not purchase, who read or who are, even like the radio stations, they give us estimated amount of people that listen to their station or, go on their website.
No, I know how advertising works, but I'm just curious, when we list newspapers, I mean, the LA Times announced layoffs earlier this week because they're having subscribers number drop. So if we're putting it in print newspaper, I'm just curious how effective that is versus focusing on digital outreach, maybe alternative methods of, working with the Office of Finance and sending letters to every registered business that the wage ordinance is changing, or looking for other free media in terms of interviews and things that get published in those print papers, rather than giving them money to put something in a print. And I subscribe to all the print papers, so I love print, but I'm the only one, it seems like. It's just, I want to make sure like we're getting the most bang for the buck, and we're not essentially doing this and then really putting it on the businesses to open up a tombstone ad in a newspaper and then finding them if they're not in compliance come August 1st.
So we do have digital outlets as well, and we also do work with the Office of Finance to send a notice every year to all the registered businesses in the city of Los Angeles. But I can, like I said, I can get more details from my staff.
I'm just putting it out there. I don't think next year we should be focusing on actual print papers unless it's more like the regionals, like LA Sentinel is a good one, or some of the more language specific ones, but
We do have LA Sentinel on
no,
the
I
list.
know, I'm saying in print, our focus should be on digital impressions, not actual print papers.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'll make note of that. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, and I just have a question also. I see you do digital, and I see you do both LA Times hard copy and then digital as well for LA Times. I have a question just on transportation. If you could just flush that out for me a little bit, because I see Outfront Media Group it seems like more than anybody else. If you could just,
So I
is that
believe,
for the buses?
yes, that's for the bus bench. So the bus bench, the bus ads, interior and exterior, and the bus shelters.
Okay. What's that? No, they still have their own business. Yeah. Yeah, we'll have it separate, but thank you for that. If you can, let us know how for the amount, which is a little over $500,000, how it'll benefit, or what the outcomes would be after this is done, I guess measuring the outcomes.
Okay.
To the extent that you can.
Okay, of course.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Margaret, for your report, or Ms. Robinson. Commissioners, do we have a motion to approve this item?
So move.
Second.
Okay. Dr. Campos, we have a motion by Commissioner Reyes and a second by Dr. Davis. If you could please take roll call.
Absolutely. We'll start the voting tabulation. We'll start with you, Madam Chair.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis,
Aye.
Commissioner Corzine,
Aye.
and Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
This motion is adopted and carries unanimous. Madam
Thank
Chair,
you.
would you like to consider this item to go forward forthwith?
Yes, please, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Robinson.
you.
All right, moving on to item number 3. And this is a status on upcoming street improvement projects by the Bureau of Street Services. And Dr. Campos, I have it on my notes that we have a speaker on this item.
Yes, we do. We can go ahead and take those comments at this time, if you'd like.
Please, yes.
Perfect. Dr. Tom Williams, the Board of Public Works is now considering item number 3, the status update on major upcoming street improvement projects. You'll have 2 minutes to speak under this item. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Dr. Tom Williams, LA 32 Neighborhood Council, Land Use and Planning Committee. We're quite concerned regarding street improvements, but also the street improvements should identify ADA crossing ramps improvements. Because in my area of LA 32 Neighborhood Council, I have over 100 crossings which have inadequate ramps. In some cases, no ramp at all on a crossing. And then on some, there were requirements that the LA Unified School District has to pay for their side of the street. And thereby, nothing has been done on the school side. Therefore, children in wheelchairs can't go to school. So it's a matter as to, I would highly recommend adding to upcoming street improvements, identifying ADA crossing ramp requirements and improvements to be included, either as a separate or as an integrated element to the item number 3, upcoming street improvement. That's all.
Thank you, Dr. Williams, for your public comment. All right, let's move.
Vice President Villegas, we do have one other hand that was just raised, Silva Blackstone. Silva Blackstone, if you can please unmute your microphone at this time. The Board of Public Works is considering item number 3, and you have your hand raised.
Yes, Silva Blackstone, retired certified arborist. And in regard to the street improvements, such as this, I'm wondering when you put in these aprons and you increase the line, the measurement of the actual ramp that's being taking up space on the sidewalk, are you allowing, does that mean you're going to be removing street trees? And if so, how is that compensated for? Thank you.
Thank you for your public comment. Then let's move on with our report for today, and that's going to be presented by Mr. Jorge Garcia. Do you go by George or Jorge?
Jorge. I mean, George, it doesn't matter.
Okay,
Actual
my
name is
brother's
Jorge.
name is Jorge also.
Good morning, Vice President Villegas, Commissioners, Dr. Campos, Bureau Representatives. My name is Jorge Garcia, Superintendent with the Street Renewal Division, Streets LA. This information is being provided to keep the public informed of the upcoming resurfacing projects.
Can you speak into the mic?
Oh, I'm sorry. Just down a little bit. This information is being provided to keep the the public informed of upcoming resurfacing projects and to minimize the impact on the community as well as delays for the additional information. I'm sorry. Upcoming resurfacing projects and to minimize the impact to the community as well as delays. For additional information or concerns, you can contact the coordinating section for the Streets Renewal Division at 213-847-3200. There are no major projects scheduled for the Metro Valley regions during the week of June 11th through June 17th, 2023. However, I will provide you with an update of our 22-2023 paving preservation program. During the week of June 11th through June 17th, 2023, the Valley and Metro region will complete 9 projects for a total of 17.16 lane miles. The press releases were distributed and notifications have been issued. Streets LA has coordinated with the Council Office to assist the outreach to stakeholders. We have coordinated with Los Angeles Department of Transportation for public control assistance. The information is also available on the Streets LA website, streetsla.lacity.org, using the Resurfacing Open Project icon. And that completes my report.
Thank you. Commissioners, do we have any questions?
This is the work that will be done in the Valley area, did you say?
Both Valley and Metro.
And Metro area?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you for your report. Then let's, and that's just an oral report. All right, let's move on then to item number 4, and that is a grants update, programs and project updates from all bureaus. And we will start with Streets LA with Shirley, then Mr. Prophet. Excuse me if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, and then Mr. Scott Gibson, followed by Arson, and then Mr. George, and followed by Dr. Campos. Good morning.
Good morning. Shirley Lau, Bureau of Street Services. My presentation is probably in your tablet. Okay. And I'm here to provide you with a brief presentation on the status of grants for our Bureau. Since our last update from December of 2022, our portfolio of federal and state grants has remained the same at $388 million, which is identified on page 2 of the presentation. Those are our federal and state grant programs for Streets LA. And on slide number 3, we have our other grant programs, which totals about $46.5 million. In slide 4, we have our various phases of projects. Currently, 56 are active. We do have several, like around 6, waiting for grant approvals, but however, we are working on the other 50. In the next slide, I do want to highlight this Active Transportation Cycle 6 program project. It's called the Boyle Heights Community Connectivity Project. So in December of 2022, the Bureau was awarded 5 Active Transportation Program Cycle 6 projects through the California Transportation Commission. This is actually the 6th one, and it will be recommended for award at the California Transportation Commission at the end of this month. This is a separate award, which was through our Metropolitan Planning Organization, so it was recommended by Metro and SCAG, and so we're waiting for this award. So with that, our Active Transportation Program Cycle 6, we do have 6 projects, and that totals over $200 million, and we did only submit 6, and so adding all 6 programs to our Bureau, it's a very heavy portfolio now. But we are looking forward to working on this project. It covers 5 miles in Boyle Heights, and we're requesting a grant of $32.1 million. Pedestrian improvements, bike facilities, traffic calming, street trees, pedestrian lighting, and a ped bike share plaza are what are proposed elements along this 5-mile corridor. So we're very happy about this award and looking forward to getting that finalized at the end of June Transportation Commission. And lastly, on the 6th slide, I just wanted to highlight that in the last 6 months, we did submit 2 grants. One is for the Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity. It's called RAISE, and that is through the US DOT. Our project was transforming Los Angeles bus shelters. It's for the STAP program, and we're requesting $25 million, and we have a $5 million city local match with a total project cost of $30 million, and this will front the capital construction costs for the STAP program. And second, we recently submitted Linking Warner Center as an active transportation hub to jobs and housing project. It's for the Sustainable Communities Program, call for applications. We did submit it to SCAG, and so that is a planning grant, and it totals $500,000 should we get the award. So the first RAISE grant we're expected to hear by the end of June if we receive that grant, and I think Linking Warner Center probably will give it another couple months before we hear back. So that concludes my update, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Lau. Do we have any questions, commissioners? I have just a quick question. As we're receiving these grants, do you, as you're starting them after your, after your design is at maybe like 75 or 90%, are you seeing any cost escalation or any, because of inflation, are we seeing any kind of differences in numbers where we have to find additional money?
Yes, overall, as we're wrapping up design, we do see cost escalation in basically all the project elements. For Bureau of Street Services, one of the active transportation projects, actually it's from Cycle 4 that we're going to go into construction. We're planning to do it in 2 phases, which is Streets LA will have our own crews do some of the construction on the elements that we can do, and then we will contract out the remainder. So we're kind of thinking of innovative ways to help with that inflation of cost, but we are seeing as a Bureau an increase in construction materials and overall trucking and other cost increase.
Okay. Thank you for letting us know about that. And then in terms of just the amount of funds that you have, in terms of your operations, is it seamless in terms of getting additional consultants and using, your as-needed lists, or how is that going?
I would say that in recent, recent years, the consultant side, they're also hurting for staffing, just like we are on the department side. So overall, there is a need for middle managers, project managers, construction managers who are familiar with implementing these large corridor projects. All of our ATP grants are in the range from $30 to $50 million projects, and so we're seeing that on the consultant side, there's also a deficiency in middle managers.
All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Lau.
Thank you.
All right, I don't see any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we have, is it Pavati Profit? Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, it's Parvati or Paru Profit. I'm here representing LA Sanitation Environment, and I think Dr. Campos has handouts, of our PowerPoint presentation. We also included a detailed package on our grant status. So I'm here to report on grants status from the period covering November 2022 through April of 2023. And if you flip to the first page of the presentation, we've got a list of the active grant portfolio in an amount of nearly $42 million, representing 32 executed grant agreements. Then if you flip, I've got a pie chart so you can see the breakdown. That $42 million represents one grant totaling $3.5 million for our clean water program, 8 grants totaling $8.9 million for environmental programs, 16 grants totaling $14.6 million for the solid resources program, and 7 grants totaling $15 million for the watershed or stormwater program. On the next page, we have a bar chart. So the 32 active grants, active projects are all at different stages of progress. In the bar chart, you can see that we've been awarded $42 million, but we've only received about $21 million of those funds to date. You can see that in the solid resources and environmental category, we still have a lot of reimbursements to request, and that's because we've been recently received new awards, and those projects are just starting up. While in our stormwater watershed program and our clean water program, we have a lot of grants that are actually closing out. We've recovered most of those funds. As soon as we close out, we're hoping to get the remainder of those funds. Details of each of the active grants are in that comprehensive report we've provided in attachment C, if you want to dig in deeper. On the next page, I'm happy to report that during the reporting period, we were awarded 3 grants for a total of $1.5 million. These are all annual grants, which we have a long history of receiving on an annual basis. I'm happy to also say that we're not denied any grants. And then if you flip to the pending applications page, the detailed report includes a list of the pending applications with more detail, but this summary table shows we've got 10 applications that we're waiting for responses on. With the influx of funding opportunities, we've been extensively researching and pursuing more grants with a focus on resiliency through water recycling, solid resources recycling, that includes organics, as well as environmental projects like brownfields and tree planting. LA San is targeting these external funding opportunities with the goal of minimizing fee increases to our ratepayers. We're overdue for rate increases, and this actually does impact our ability to secure grants because we don't have the front funding for reimbursement grants. Most of the state and federal grants are all reimbursement-based. However, the more grant funds we can secure, the more we're able to alleviate the funding crisis for our programs. We've been extremely busy submitting applications in the first half of the calendar year, and we have a few more grant applications that we've worked on submission in May and June, which aren't reflected here in this report. That includes EPA's Urban and Community Forestry Grant and an application for USDA's Composting and Food Waste Reduction Grant. I also want to mention that 2 of the grants listed on the pending applications page, we have actually been notified that we're awarded. The SB 1383 Local Assistance Grant Program for $5 million has been awarded, and we've received word that the EPA Brownfields Cleanup Grant for the Taylor Yard G2 Central Brownfield Cleanup Project for $2 million will also be awarded, so we're working on negotiating that grant agreement. So I gave you a lot of data, but I want to share with you some samples of projects so you can see, in detail the good works that we're able to complete for our city utilizing these grant funds. One example is the Shade LA Tree Planting Project, which received a grant from CAL FIRE Urban Forestry. LA San was awarded $1.5 million, and we were actually able to expend almost all of those funds. We actually got a lot closer than is showing on the report because the final report was submitted after this report was compiled. But we were able to plant 2,930 trees and cut more than 900 tree wells in disadvantaged communities across Los Angeles. The project exceeded the grant goal of 2,700 trees, so we were extremely successful with this project. We hope that with these successes, we will be able to secure more CAL FIRE tree planting money and continue our good works in that area. Another example project that I wanted to share is the Westwood Neighborhood Greenway Project. This is a stormwater project that we were awarded from the state $2.2 million. We've received all but the retention on this grant, which we'll recover after we close out the grant. The project diverts and treats both dry and wet weather flow from a drainage area in 2 parallel bioswales through a storm drain diversion. With this project, we've been able to treat runoff that would otherwise contaminate downstream water bodies. So another successful project, we were able to take advantage of these grant funds so that we're able to bring improvements to our community without the full cost without our residents and our city bearing the full cost burden. So we're able to use these grant fund monies to help our residents. So that concludes my report. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you. That was very thorough. Do we have any questions? I have 2 questions. If you can just either just give me a brief, answer, or we can, set up a meeting to talk outside of this meeting. You mentioned something in your statement, the fee increases for LA San, and then you correlated that with staff. That you may not have enough staff in the future to apply for grants?
I referenced front funding shortages.
Front funding,
yeah.
Okay. Can you clarify that?
So grants are reimbursement based, the majority of the grants that we're able to get, state grants, federal grants. So even if you're awarded the grant, you have to be able to pay for the project and pay those first invoices, and then you get reimbursed. So if we don't have the funds to start the project, we can't implement that grant project. So it's a complexity in getting awarded grants. We want to get the grant money, but at the same time, you can't apply for a grant if you can't show that you have that match funding or that front funding source to get that project started. So unfortunately, it goes back to that concept that grants aren't necessarily free. So normally you have to have some sort of funding base, front funding source to start the project. This has been a big problem for sanitation in being able to pursue grants. We do have to make sure before we submit an application that we have our funding sorted out and we know that we can start that project off and that we've got that front funding source. So it's something that I wanted to mention here because we'd love to seek assistance and we hope that we can get some front funding options. I know that we were pursuing getting possibly some front funding through the general fund, just a revolving fund that would help us be more successful at getting grants.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. I know it's an ongoing issue also for many nonprofits, just to be able to sustain organizations and make payroll and things like that. Thank you for that clarification. I'm sure you all talk internally on just different options and with some of these grants. Moving on to my next question, really quick, I see that the watershed program is, continuing to grow just because it's got ongoing funding every year, just through the regional program and the municipal program. And just in general terms, capacity, just internally with staff, do you all have that capacity as this program continues to grow? And then capacity just in terms of consultants, because the work will continue and the grants will continue.
I don't have information on
Okay.
the staffing for our
Fine.
watershed program.
fine.
I can try to follow up on that and get some responses
Yeah.
back for you.
I know with Measure W, it's yearly with no end cycle, so that's
Yeah.
why I asked, yeah. Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you for your thorough report.
Okay, great, thank you.
All right. Next, we have Mr. Scott Gibson. Good morning. Have a good weekend.
Good morning. Scott Gibson, providing a brief update on the status of the bridge program. I provided a handout. I'm not sure if it was distributed or not, but
Is it in the report? Is it in here?
no, I provided it to Dr. Campos
Campos?
earlier today.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can start anyways, and we'll just take notes for the time.
Okay, so
I'm sorry to interrupt. Before you begin, Dr. Campos, was there potentially a speaker on item 4? I know no action was taken, but to the extent that that was the case, could that be clarified?
Absolutely. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. To answer your question, yes, we do have one person that has their hand raised on item number 4. We were going to notify that to the chair after the item has been fully presented. We are still halfway through the item. Would you like to consider the public comment at this time in the middle of the presentation or after the presentation?
Let's consider the public comment now.
Now? Perfect. Sylvia Blackstone, you had your hand raised for item number 4. Would you like to speak on item number 4 at this time?
Do you know that your Zoom meeting was interrupted?
Yes, we are here in session, and I see your hand was lowered, but you did have your hand raised.
Yeah, it was because I called your office to let them know, and somebody came on the line, and then they went away.
Yes.
I
the
re-entered the meeting.
The board is
just-
considering item number 4. Would you like to speak on this
Why-
item?
No, thank you.
You do not. Okay, thank you.
No.
Madam Chair, thank you for your patience and just clarity on the hand raised. The hand has been lowered, and the speaker would not like to speak at this time.
Okay, and we have, do we have a handout from Mr. Cobb? Gibson, sorry.
Yes, we do.
I think it's right there.
I'll hand it out.
You see my breath.
So, hi, again, good morning. Scott Gibson providing an update on the status of the bridge program. I provided a handout for you to follow along. On slide 2 just summarizes the type of grants that are typically awarded to the bridge program. The Federal Highway Bridge Program has historically provided the bulk of the funding for the bridge program with state Prop 1B, Prop C, 710, state earmarks, and Measure M providing supplemental funding in recent years. Slides 3 through 5 provide a summary of the projects we currently have in design with a total budget of $231.4 million. And of that $231 million, $215 million is funded through various grants. We currently have 10 projects in design, but I wanted to highlight item number 2. We just got signed plans, so those plans are 100% complete, and we plan on advertising that for construction by the end of this month, and I will...
That's the Glendale Hyperion Complex Bridge?
Yes, correct, with a total, really a construction budget of roughly $80 million. And I'll provide a brief highlight on that project a little bit later in the presentation. This past fiscal year 22-23, we just completed one project that was grant funded. That was the Soto Street Bridge over Valley Boulevard with a total budget of $20 million. As I mentioned, we just completed design of the Glendale Hyperion Complex of Bridges, which is very exciting for us. This is nearly 20 years in the making. It's a very complicated complex of bridges. If you've ever driven through that area, it spans the LA River, the 5 freeway, and Riverside Drive. And the scope includes seismically retrofitting and widening the bridges, reconfiguring the roadway and the I-5 off-ramp, and installing bike lanes. We estimate construction cost to be around $80 million. We hope to advertise this project for construction by the end of this month, with groundbreaking early 2024, and anticipate a construction duration of roughly 5 years. I also wanted to highlight that the bridge program is currently in the process of developing a maintenance plan to perform routine maintenance on bridges on an annual basis and extend the service lives of the roughly 500 bridges throughout the city. We are also currently developing a strategic plan to sustain the program for the next 20 plus years. We have identified the top 36 bridges throughout the city in most need of seismic retrofit, widening, or replacement, and are currently analyzing the bipartisan infrastructure law, as well as various other grant sources for opportunities to fund these projects. And that concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Thank you for your thorough report. Mr. Gibson, do we have any questions? No? I think we're good.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend. All right, and we have Arsen.
Good morning, Arsen Wilskirchen with the Bureau of Engineering Street Improvement Program. Provide a brief update. We don't have too many changes. I'll be providing an oral update today, so I do not have a handout, but I can provide details afterwards if needed. We have a total of 116 active projects in the Street Improvement Program in the Bureau of Engineering. Out of those, about 11 of those projects are MTA call funded, and there's another 44 that are other grant-funded projects. In total, we have about $300 million worth of funding in our projects. The largest funding sources of grant sources are for affordable housing and sustainable communities. We have about $53 million in HSIC funded projects active right now, with more on the way. We have approximately $96 million in ATP funded projects and more on the way. We have about $22 million in HSIP, or Highway Safety Improvement Program funded projects. We expect more of those as well. And about $17 million in Regional Surface Transportation Project funded. That concludes my report, and I'll answer any questions if you have any. Thank you.
George Wang, Mr. Wang, are you going to present on this item or no? No items to present.
Okay,
Madam Chair, that ends the presentation for the Bureau of Engineering.
thank you. All right, then our next is Bureau of Street Lighting? Yeah. Is it Leonichev?
Good morning. Yeah.
Yes.
My name is
Thank
Sergey Leonichev. I'm with the Bureau of Street Lighting.
Yes, and we
I'm
have
here
your
to
report
provide the
there.
report on community development block grant funded projects, also known as CDBG. So currently, the Bureau of Street Lighting has 11 CDBG projects in design and construction stages. The projects will install a new street lighting system in low-income areas that currently don't have street lighting. CDBG funds all design and construction costs. The design and construction of the projects is contingent on majority of benefiting property owners agreeing to pay for operation and maintenance of the new street lighting through the Proposition 218 balloting process. And following is a list of current CDBG funded projects within the Bureau of Street Lighting. So the first two projects are, they have passed Proposition 218. It's San Pedro area and North Hollywood Morella Street. Both, one is Council District 15, the other one in Council District 6. And both of them are waiting clearance from the Department of Water and Power. The next projects are pending Proposition 218. And the first one is San Pedro, Grant Street. We initiating reballoting because first ballots were invalidated due to post office delay. Next two projects, they both in Council District 15. It's Amar and Santa Cruz and Beacon Street. For both of them, we initiated Prop 218 already. And next projects, they all are in construction phase. The first one, all of them actually in Council District 6, all of these projects. So the first one is Valeria Street, and it was contracted out. And the end of construction end date is scheduled to be in winter of this year. Next project is Panorama City, which our field crew is working on right now. And the completion date is this summer of this year. Next, Arleta Weiner street lighting project. We received materials for it, but the construction hasn't started yet, and it will start as soon as the Panorama City project is finished. Next is Arleta Starwin Street, and for that one, the anticipated construction date is winter of 2023. Next would be North Hollywood Cayuga Street lighting project and Panorama City Willis Avenue. Both of these projects, actually first one is anticipated to start construction in winter of this year, and the next one, which is Panorama City Willis Avenue, the construction will start in spring of next year, 2024. And this concludes my oral report, and I'm waiting for any questions you might have.
Thank you. I appreciate your thorough report. I don't see any questions. I think we're okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Enjoy your weekend. All right. Dr. Campos, I think that we have the last report from our board. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer, reporting for the Board of Public Works in Norman Tenata's absence. Commissioners, I'll keep this brief. 6 points that I wanted to highlight for our board's grant portfolio. We have 3 active grants, one for $15 million for the California for All Youth program. That program is about $15 million in grants. We have spent about $700,000 to date. The job target is to create 342 jobs for youth. We have 67 jobs filled in that project. We are working tirelessly to move forward the Clean LA program, the LA River Rangers program, and our composting and our food recovery program. As of July, we anticipate that all four programs will be actively launched. We have 2 actively launched as of right now, Clean LA and the LA River Rangers program. The other 2, composting and food recovery, will go live July 1st, July 15th at the latest. The second grant that we have is for $1.5 million for the CAL FIRE grant program, which is the Los Angeles Urban Forest Management Plan for the future. And this consists of planting 400 trees. It consists of completing our urban forestry management plan and also community outreach. We have spent about $72,000. We just recently encumbered $300,000 with a MOU with LA County. And the next step is to start looking for a consultant to help us with our UFMP, which would be worth about $700,000 to $900,000. That grant expires in March of 2024, and we do anticipate to reach that goal, or if not, we will ask for an extension, for a 3-month to 6-month extension. The last grant that we have is for $22.5 million, and this is our homelessness services with our mobile pit, mobile shower, and skid row cleaning program. And we have spent $11.6 million of that $22 million. More importantly, I wanted to highlight that we've served about 1.9 million patrons in this program. So it's really about servicing those that need the toilet services and also the shower program, and then of course the cleaning our skid row area. The fourth point I'd like to make is that we have submitted, since we last reported a quarter ago, we have submitted 3 new grant applications totaling about $9 million for the Clean California Cycle 2 program, one for $2.9 million for mural services, and then $5 million to continue our Clean LA program, and last but not least, $1 million for our heat and climate resiliency community initiatives. And then we are working on one pending application that has not yet been submitted. It's due in September, and that is for our heat resiliency project, and that's going to be about $10 million that we plan to submit. Again, that's still not yet submitted, but it's in progress. Collectively, we have also had a grant from the Innovation Productivity Commission for our HBCU recruitment, and also the MFLA, which is the Mayor's Fund for Los Angeles, for our Workforce Equity Demonstration Program. Those 2 grants are not listed here since they're not federal or state grants, but they're private endowments, and those two total about $400,000. And the last point I'd like to share with the board is that we are currently seeking approval for a senior management analyst position to help us as our grants officer position that was funded through our Climate Equity Fund. This is an initiative that was negotiated through the Southern California Gas Company negotiation through our petroleum office. And during that negotiation, $300,000 was set aside for a grants officer position dedicated to seeking additional grant funds that are available for climate emergencies or petroleum-related matters. So we're happy to move that forward. It's now being considered by the City Council and the Mayor, and as soon as we get that approval, we will inform this commission. With that, that concludes my report, and I will take any questions that your board may have.
Thank you. It's a lot of good work. I don't see any questions. Dr. Campos, I think we're good. Oh, do you have a question? Go ahead, Commissioner Reyes.
I just want to thank everyone for presenting the grants. It's really, number one, heartening to know that we have taken advantage of those resources. But as we seek more grants, my thinking is that we should really look at grants benefiting disadvantaged communities, using that justice lens as we look at opportunities for grant funding, and also the local workforce development. As we leverage our resources, we should also look at more partnership with other bureaus, for example, or other city departments, so that there are resources that we can leverage, thinking that our staff will have added workload because of monitoring the grants, making sure that the compliance requirements are met. But that partnership is very important. And last but not least is the sustainability portion, so that those grants are not left stranded after the grants are done with. That there is that forward-looking, future-looking, how do we sustain this in the long term as we provide those services to the 4 million residents of the city of LA. So that's just my thought, looking at all the presentations today and really appreciating the hard work of our staff, seeking those grants and implementing those grants. Thank you.
Very well said. Commissioner Reyes, thank you for that. All right, Dr. Campos, does that clear today's desk?
Yes, it does.
All right, we will close out this meeting and open our special meeting for the Board of Public Works for June 9th. And Dr. Campos, if you can establish quorum for our special meeting.
Absolutely. It's now 11:13. We are now opening up the special meeting. We're establishing roll call and quorum for the special meeting. We have Vice President Villegas, Commissioner Corzan, and Commissioner Reyes. Madam Chair, you do have a quorum at this time. Again, for the record, President Garcia and Dr. Davis, President Pro Tem Davis, are both excused on a city business meeting for this special agenda. At this time, members of the general public that would like to provide public comment on item number 1, special agenda, if you can please raise your hand at this time by pressing *9, click the raise hand icon, or submit a speaker card that's located in the back end of the room if you're here live at City Hall. Again, this is for members of the general public that would like to speak on item number 1, special agenda. Seeing one hand raised, Madam Chair, we do have one speaker on the line for item number 1 once you read that into the record.
Okay, why don't we take our speaker for general comments now?
Absolutely. Dr. Tom Williams, Dr.